Alright, so welcome to part 2 of the Briggs & Stratton 6S restoration. A lot's changed on the little motor since the last time you seen it. It's been thoroughly cleaned and painted. All the parts have. All the new parts should be here tomorrow. So tonight I'm going to reinstall the camshaft. Or the camshaft and the lifters all have to go in at the same time. So phoned the cylinder, lapped in the valves. The valves are both good. It does have a hardened seat in the exhaust, but not on the intake. So I'm going to turn the block upside down. You can see the inside of it. Let me move the camera. Alright, so I think that's the best shot I'm going to get of the inside. So I'm going to get some engine assembly lube on these lifters. I'm going to start with the intake. This will also keep it from rusting. Intake goes in first. Now the exhaust. Got a whole lot of new parts coming for this. Should be here tomorrow. There we go. Sorry, my hand is blocking the camera. Get some on this camshaft. Get some on the thrust faces. Get some on the camshaft. Then we can sit the cam down in there without dropping it. And they're a pretty tight fit between the two little bosses in the block. There we go. I think I'm going to have to get my little hammer. It's okay to tap on this. There it goes. And it still spins. And it squirted some out the back. So we'll just wipe back in there. There'll be more of it here in a second. Because now we've got to tap it into the press fit. Till it's flush with the block. Let me find a punch. Also, it helps to set the block like this. Still more here on the back of the block. Just drive it in until it's flush with the back of the block. That's how far it needs to go in. A little bit more. That, as you can see, is flush with the back of the block. Right there. And now, this little plug goes here. It's mainly to keep it from leaking oil. And that's how you install a camshaft on one of these style brigs. That was probably the easiest one I've ever put in. And a lot of people would probably say, why put the cam in before the valves? That's so I can check the valve clearance. And I'll show how I do that here in just a second. Alright, so the valve clearance is on, and I've got my book out on the 5 and 6S. On the intake is, the maximum is 9 and the minimum is 7. So I'm going to start with a 7, and I'm going to set the intake valve in. A 7/1000 feeler gauge. Put a little pressure down on it, and it slips good. So now I'm going to get a 9. And it does not fit. Get an 8. Barely fits. So this one's set at 8, which is in tolerance, so it's good. The exhaust valve and the spec on the exhaust valve is 14 to 16. So get a 14 out. Here's a 14. And it fits. Also make sure your cam isn't on a lobe. So yeah, 14 fits. Now I get a 16. There we go. And the 16 does not fit. Get a 15. And the 15 does. So right in the middle of spec on both of them. So both of them are good. Alright, so all the new parts are here. I'll show you what all we got here. We start out with I got a new flywheel nut because the other one was a little bit marred up and I wound up putting it on a different engine. So I went ahead and ordered a new one. They weren't that expensive. Got new plug wire. The end for it is in here. Got new rings. New front rear main seal, new flywheel keys. These are actually cheaper if you buy them in a pack of 10. New seals. This is the breather assembly for inside of the valve compartment. We've got new gas cap, which I actually was cheaper to buy 2 of them. This is NOS. This is the 70s, like the 60s or the 70s box. I think this is 70s box. Some of these have a date code on the inside of them. But I think I may have found a new old stock gas tank that I'm going to get for this engine, because the one that's on it has probably got holes in it. And this is a NOS muffler. And also got new gasket set from Flywheel Supply. I'll take these out and show you. New oil pan gasket. New shims. New head gasket. Valve cover gasket. Intake gasket. And the insulator for the points. And they also send this style of gasket. I don't know why. That's for a WMB, but they're nice to have. So these are MP15. So I'm going to see if we can get the crank in place set tonight, and I'll show how to do that. So let me put all this stuff up. We'll see about doing that. Alright, so the best way to set the crank in play on one of these is to wait to put the front rear mainsail in. It makes it easier and more accurate. So I'm going to get the block out, get the oil pan, and the locating dowels. That one needs a little help. And just sit the block on the oil pan so that it sits up. There's a mama hen with a little baby chicken in here. So if you hear that squeaking, that's him. So now I need the shim gaskets. Be sure that they line up and everything, because on 5S and a 6S is different than a Model N. Yeah, they're going to line up. The kit comes with 2 shims, and you're going to start out with both of them, I think. One of them may be different. Trying to see if the holes line up. Nope, so one of these is for Model N. The other one's for 5S and 6S. Now they line up right there. There we go, kinda. Alright, so start out with this one. Need my front cover. See if I can get this in the shot. These do have a certain pattern to them as far as the holes go. We will have to slide that gasket on there like that. And when I do the full installation, I will be putting Permatex Indian head on this gasket. That one slid right on there. Be darn. Turn it to where the holes line up, if they do. I don't know what Flywheel Supply does with these shim gaskets, because it seems like every one of them I get is different. There they go. They lined up. Let me go grab the bolts. Alright, got the bolts. Now we can slide the crank in. Not going to worry about oiling it or anything right now, because we're just setting the end play. There it goes. Then we can slide the front cover on. And already lined up. I'm on kind of feel of it. And I can tell that's probably way too much. And I know the mag plate don't look very clean right now, but it's as clean as it's going to be able to get without me sandblasting it, and I don't have a sandblaster. Get these bolts in. And I also have to get the dial indicator out, so I don't just do crank in play with the darned feeler gauge. Just snug them up. And you can skip over me tightening these bolts if you don't want to watch it. These are Rockford grade A bolts, it says. Alright, so still spins. Very little in play. Let's see if I can get the dial indicator out. Alright, so I finally got the timing set. I'm going to wipe this surface down again because I got assembly lube all over it. This one too. But I actually need to put some on this crankshaft right here, but should be able to do that without getting any on the gaskets. go. Get our 2 shims and individually put Permatex Indian head on them. So hold on while I do that. Alright, so got Permatex on both of our gaskets. Go on ahead and install this front cover. Alright, holes are lined up. And an overview. It actually says in the manual to install the front cover first. I think this is the first time I've ever done it like that, though. And these are the original bolts. Be sure it still turns, and it does. How much squeeze out we're getting already? Not much. Just be sure you tighten these evenly. And know the oil pan is not bolted on yet. Still turns over. Still has no crank in play almost. So we're good. There we go. So that's going to be all I do for tonight. Alright, so we're going to work on the 6S some more. Hopefully get the piston installed on the rod. And before I do that, I'm going to show the wrist pins. This is the original wrist pin to this motor. If you look at it, it's got some rust staining. And I can feel it with my fingernail, so I didn't really like that. I probably could have polished it and made it alright, but I'm going to set that one aside for later on. And I have this one right here, which is nice and polished. And no rust. So, don't know if I get the whole piston installed tonight, but we'll see. So I'm going to show something else I got for this motor. I ran across this on eBay. Let me set it over here to the side. Found this on eBay. And original envelope. We have the original operating and maintenance manual with parts catalog for the Model 6S. But that's also not all that's in here. We have the original unused warranty card. Never filled out, never sent in. More warranty certificate. Whoops. Never been filled out. This is the thing that would have come with your engine when you bought it, and this one has a serial number in it that unfortunately doesn't match this motor. I think this is for a 51, and then there's some other neat stuff in here. This would have been on the engine when you got it. I think this would have been tied around the gas tank. It's got the string on it and everything. And this would have been tied to the choke. So, and all in the original envelope. So, this stuff here, you never see it because it all got thrown away or lost or whatnot. I've got some of these. I found some of these, but they were all missing this bottom piece where they filled it out and sent it in. This one here's never been filled out or sent in. And nice to have the original manual. So now I can start putting this thing together. Alright, so there's an X in here, a connecting rod. It's going to go like this. And the X will face the mag plate. It's real smooth right there. There. Wanted to be sure it was all the way in there. Let me find the pin that holds it. Alright, so I'm installing the piston rings. So, the flywheel supply piston rings come with this little paper. Focus. Not focusing. Zoom back out. But anyways, they come with this little paper that shows how to install piston rings. So, I'll show you. And there's also my end from the spark plug wire in there. That's the top ring. This is the middle ring. The middle ring has this little spot on it. It's like a taper. And that faces down on ring number 2. I've always installed these by hand. And of course it's going to fall into the top gap. Then you'll have to get it down to the next one down. But be careful not to break them. There. valves in there. And then this one has a inside taper right here. And it shows that facing up on the top ring. Top one's always the easiest one to get on. And there's no side to side to these. These are, and I did put these in the cylinder last night and measure the gap. And on the top ring, I had 11 thousandths. And by the way, the spec is 7 to 17. On the top, I had 11. The middle ring, I had 12. And on the oil ring, I had 9. So that's all perfectly in spec. So there's that all assembled. Alright, so I'm going to make an attempt to show installing the intake valve on camera. The last time I did this was on the opposed twin, and it ended with valve springs flying across the room and everything else. On these 2-inch bores, these can kind of be a pain because of that stud. There. Kinda got it. There. That would be on a cam lobe, wouldn't it? There. If I can turn it. There. I can get that to come up a little bit. There. So now these are held in with these little tiny pins. What you have to do is get a pair of needle nose and slide it in. Looks about right. Back the spring compressor off. Yep, right there. That's one installed intake valve. And I did lap these in. Alright, not going to show the exhaust because trying to keep this video short as possible, and I know you probably didn't see much of that. Alright, so I'm going to show installing the new air valve. And for this, I'm going to get out my Genuine 6S manual so I can look myself on how to install this air valve. I've installed 100 of them, but always good to check. Alright, so the spring and some other stuff. There's the stack up right there in the book. And the part number for the whole assembly is, and I'll show you here, 291905. And there's several of these on eBay, new old stock. Get this staple off of it. Without ruining the new old stock package. Because I do hang on to all of my new old stock boxes and packages. And that's why I hate when people put staples in them. This is not an original staple. Alright, so dump out the contents of the package. I'll put this back in there. We've got the gasket, this, and this, and a spring. And how it appears this goes in the stack, I think this goes on the bottom, don't it? Or does it fit in there like that? Looks like it fits in there like that. Yep, it does. There's a Model N over here sitting next to this. And I just looked to see. And this, I'm assuming, goes under here. According to the diagram, it does, so we'll hold up on that. This little doodad here goes here. And that goes on top. That one, the Model N's a little different. Assuming it goes like that. Because this one here is different than the Model N, and only 2-inch bores I've dealt with are Model N's. So it goes like this. Get the spring in here. The spring just rests against that stud. There we go. That holds it in place. I'm going to guess that that's how it goes. Well, I'm not guessing, I'm just saying. Put this manual back up. And then the little oil baffle thing. Goes in like so. Make sure that it's not hitting anything. It's not. And now we can actually go ahead and put the valve cover on. Gotta get this rag. Actually, gonna get this other one. Put some acetone on it. Be sure to wipe your gasket surfaces down with like carburetor cleaner or acetone, or just be sure you get something on it. Actually, I think I may leave it like this because I forgot I gotta find a 1/4 28 nut to go on it, but this is gonna go on there like that. So just gonna leave it like this for tonight. Alright, so now we can install the valve cover. So we have our new gasket, and underneath the nut there's a gasket that goes underneath the nut. And this is a 1/4 28 original. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold this gasket up. Never had one of these leaks, so I'm not worried about gasket shellac. Up there like that. Put our gasket on for that. And this nut is even machined on the back side to seal against that gasket. A lot of people don't know that. Like that. kind of like that. All right, so we're going to see if we can get the piston put in it tonight. Got the rings on it. And I don't know if I mentioned it or not. These are flywheel supply rings. Really like these. Have used these in every one of these engines that I've rebuilt. So every 2-inch bore. Be sure to oil this cylinder up. We can oil the rings. Do it like that. All right, so I talked about the X on the bottom of the piston. Right, let's see if I can get the lighting. Right there it is. That faces a mag plate. So that's the oil ring. I'm going to put the gap on this next ring around over here. There's a taper cutting the top of the cylinder like that. And get this next one. This next ring gap over here. There we go. Like that. So now I can take it off the base. Right then. There. Flip the base over. Be sure that the X is still facing this way. Alright, so I'm going to try to bring the piston down. So that I can start putting stuff on it. So, my engine assembly lube out. Hold on. Alright, so I guess it's going to be the part 2 of the Briggs & Stratton 6S restoration. I'm having to split this into 3 parts. I only wanted it to be 2 parts originally, but it's already 45 minutes long, so going to have to split it into 3 parts, or it'd be closer to an hour and a half. So I hope everybody enjoyed the video. Last left off, I was putting the piston in, and I'm sorry for standing in front of the camera for most of that, so sorry about that. It was my bad. So I guess we'll see you in part 3 of the Briggs & Stratton 6S restoration. Thanks for watching.